I don't have anything to say. No, I was just Mitch and I are on. It's better to talk than not talk.
Okay,
As we were
so
talking about, non baseball things because it's better to, talk about those things when people could watch it.
Hi, Mal.
So I was talking about the secondary.
Good evening.
And Mike Saban for the secondary.
We can hear you, Douglas.
I took my mother-in-law when she was in her 70s to see Hulk Hogan at the Richmond Coliseum. She was a huge wrestling fan. And we were up almost under the ring. If you think that thing looks phony on TV, go sit right under the ring.
I have a friend.
Huh?
There's a kid from my little league, like from years ago, who he went to Maitland Little League, he went to Bishopmore High School, he went to UC to play football. He just signed a contract with World Wrestling Federation, so now I'm going to be forced to watch wrestling. His name is Parker Boudreaux, and if you're a wrestling fan, root for him.
All right, fair enough.
But he's in that new whatever they do, like they have a recruiting stable of some sort, right. And he forgoes last year at UCF football to be a wrestler.
Yeah, okay, so, hey, guess what? It's the roundtable time. We're going to get right to it because Malpal has to leave right at 9 o'clock. He's got something else he has to take care of because he's busy and important. And so,
hello, everybody.
This is Douglas and Mitchell, and it's getting to be quite the normal occasion that we have on Monday nights, which I absolutely like. Let's get started and talk a little bit about some injuries. We don't really know about Ronald Acuna. Do any of you have Ronald Acuna on your teams?
I have Ronald Acuna on 2 teams.
Okay.
They said it was a strained abdominal muscle.
It's not good. There's nothing about it that looks good to me. I'm not a doctor. But that's a strange place. Isn't that a strange place? How many players have we seen with this abdominal strain?
Well, we've seen lots of oblique strains. I think that's your side.
Oblique isn't that in your side or is that a lat?
Yeah, it's like right around your middle in the side area.
Okay.
And it really, I don't know. It says that he has a mild abdominal strain. How did it happen? What happened to him?
He did it on the bases.
That's like saying you have a partially bald tire.
Well, that really is a thing, right? A partially bald tire. It's dangerous, but it's a real thing. Let's see. So he I don't know how he got it because I didn't see it. I just know it's a big deal because a guy like this going out is a big deal.
Bobby Kleino joined us.
Hi, Bobby. Oh, he's on with us.
He's on he came into the Facebook chat, and you can put those on. You can put them down here if someone comments there. Isn't that cool?
Yes, right there. Good job. I know you're busy, dude, but we're rooting for you and little Noah. We love to see the baseball cards with Daddy. I just think it's wonderful, so I always try to share it. But Bobby collects baseball cards, and not just some of his cards are excellent, but he's always getting like boxes and stuff, and then he opens them with his son, who's like 4 years old, Noah. Right. So he teaches him about players, right? But Noah gets sidetracked easily. You know how it is. Anyway, moving on. We have that. We have Steven Strasburg. You guys, I feel like I'm really angry and annoyed. And so I try to say, why are you really annoyed? You're pretty much annoyed at yourself because every year I'm so huge about risk averse, right? I'm always like, don't draft him. He's got injury troubles. Why do I choose some people that it's okay to take on my team, but other people, I feel like there's a risk reward where you say like Strasburg is obviously very talented, and if you can get him at some sort of a discount, then I'm all for that. But still, I spend all this time and effort trying to make sure that I don't have a bunch of risk on my team, and then I turn around and draft Steven Strasburg and like Carlos Carrasco.
We had a question. Yeah, we had a question from one of our viewers. He asked what's going on with Marte. I think he's probably referring to Starling Marte.
Starling Marte, yeah.
And Kettle's hurt too. They're both hurt. But
that appears to be a lat issue as well earlier in the week.
Marte, he has, according to the Marlins, he has a non-displaced fracture of the 12th left rib.
Okay.
He's going to do no activity for 5 to 7 days, and they're going to reevaluate. Typically, a cracked rib takes 6 weeks to heal. He's a baseball player. He may play before it's fully healed. It's not it's not the most essential bone in the body.
Oblique. It's oblique. It's like he's got an oblique now problem.
So yeah, I would say 3 weeks minimum.
3
Yeah.
weeks.
I think Doug's right. Yep.
A left oblique. It appeared to be a left oblique or intercostal muscle injury, but he will be shut down for 5 to 7 days, and then he'll be reevaluated, is what RotoWire says. But oblique.
The tweet that I saw was from Marlins Communication itself.
Did they say
That's
how
what they're
many?
saying.
Did they say 3 weeks?
No, they said 5 to 7 days, then they'll reevaluate. But I've had a broken rib, and you can look up the typical time for a broken rib, and that's 5-6 weeks.
I think Tatis has come back way too early.
Tatis, that's the next person we should talk about. Malpal. I mean, he's a San Diego guy, so I figure he understands and knows what's going on here with Tatis. I mean, really, you only know so much, right? He is back in the batting order. He is back on.
He played all weekend. He looked okay. I don't know his exact stats. I know he took one to center field over the wall.
Yeah.
But he looks rusty in the field. But I'm not a fantasy. I did not fall head over heels with Tatis anyways this year, because I've seen the guy. He plays with reckless abandon, so he's a catch-22. What makes him so good is he plays recklessly, and the reason he gets injured every year, which he has, is because he plays with reckless abandon. So it doesn't surprise me that he's hurt.
Well,
He's hurt every year he's played.
Did I hear right, Malpal, that he's made 7 errors already this season?
I think
he came back and made one.
Yeah.
That's a season's worth of errors for a shortstop, is it
Mitchell,
not?
I think you heard that on our show.
Oh, okay. Maybe I did.
Let's just pretend you did, okay?
The real question is,
I like it.
They got Machado, who's a good fielder. What if they just switch the 2 out? I don't know.
Maybe Tatis doesn't have the arm.
It's not just about his defense either. So let's get this straight. He is not hitting well at all. I have him on one team, and I just happened to be like the second pick in a draft, so I decided to go for it. Why not? And he's batting 129 overall, like on the season. So he's had 2 home runs, and it's not horrible, but it's definitely not. Now, here's my question about Tatis. It's more of a statement or an opinion. It's just my opinion. This shoulder thing, okay, think about trying to steal bases with a bad shoulder. It's dislocated, partially dislocated. So, like, your goal mentally and even subconsciously is going to be like, don't fully dislocate that shoulder. You are not going to be diving, sliding, and stealing bases like you normally would, right? Do you guys agree with me on that one?
They have to have told him not to run, Andy. They can't risk that guy running right now.
He's caught stealing one time, and he's not been
since he came back.
Just overall this season, and he's only had 35 plate appearances.
I wouldn't let him run. And that hurts his fantasy value. But if I owned that team, I wouldn't let him run. You can't afford the risk right now.
Think about what you're losing with your fantasy pick if you can't run, and just think like, okay, so what do we expect from Tatis? Like 30-30?
No, you're gonna get 25 and 80 and about 5 steals.
No, like what did we expect from him going into the season? Were we expecting
we were expecting him to push 30-30, probably 37 home runs, 25 stolen bases, something like that.
The shoulder not only is going to interfere with stolen bases, whether or not they tell him to run, I don't think he's going to be as reckless. And, Malpal brought up a great point. Bryce Harper used to do that. As they get older, they start to realize that running into walls is not that great of an idea. And, like, they start to learn how to not get hurt. But young, like, really excited young players, they are constantly hurting their bodies because they're playing with abandon, just like you said.
Well, I love to see hustle, just like Malpal. I remember Pete Rose loved him to death.
Yeah.
I wanted him in the Hall of Fame yesterday. He cheated. I get that. So did a bunch of other people. But he hustled, and I think the fans love to see someone put out the effort. But still,
I do.
Look at Eloy. He's out for the season. Christ in the wall. One time, he's gone.
Buxton's been learning this trick, and I mean, I thought this is exactly my justification for drafting at Strasburg. I said to myself that when you get older, you just learn how to not get hurt as much, but that is just not the case with some. And Strasburg is so annoying, you guys. I don't even know what to say. Like
I will tell you that Ron Chandler's baseball forecaster
yeah.
has an in-depth analysis every year
Mm-hmm.
of all the players with the worst injury history.
Yes, I have it right in front of me on the screen.
I get it every year. That's as good a tool. And we know they're high risk, but what you did is what I was going to do. I knew his price was falling.
Yeah.
In the auctions. And I figured if I could get Strasburg for $25, I would have gotten him, but he went for 33. One of my auctions. I would have paid 25 and I would have been wrong.
But let me tell you one thing, okay? This is how it pays off sometimes, and it does not pay off other times. Last year, I drafted Denelson Lamet, and I did again this year. Probably could have paid off, but I got him cheap because he's always hurt. And Glass now. This year, I got Glass now. I mean, I'm stoked that I got Glass now for like $10. You know what I mean? But so there are times when if Glass now got hurt right now, I'd say, oh my gosh, I totally knew Glass now was a mistake to draft, and he was a mistake to put on my team, but. I think
not if you paid $10. I would do that every day, 7 days a week.
There is a cutoff, but Yoan Moncada, that's exactly how I ended up with Yoan Moncada on my team, is because I don't believe that guy is that good. I'm the only one saying, like, look at his strikeout rate. He is not going to ever be what you want him to be. And then I go and I draft him because the price is so low, I can't pass it up. And now it's like, I'm not going to drop him, but I don't know, like, what else to do with him because I'm so annoyed at him. He's fucking not doing anything. Sorry for the cursing, but that's me. So
I got Moncada too. I paid $17. I kept him, and I shouldn't have kept him. Monday morning, we're all smart, aren't we? After the season goes,
hindsight's 50-50. Okay.
Well, I'll say this about.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say real quickly about these injury guys. It's my number one rule. I remember talking to Lenny like 5 years ago about this. My number one rule is. Never pay full price for a guy over oft injured guy over 30 years old because they never get better. The chances of these guys over 30 who are always hurt, they're going to get hurt. So I would never pay. And it's hindsight, right? But I would never pay full value for Strasburg and guys like that.
Well, we didn't.
Just
I don't think I
for
paid.
Trouble. AJ Pollock, these guys are just stay away from them.
But is there a point, Malpal, in a draft where you would say, yes, I will draft AJ Pollock? Because now at this point, it's not I feel like there is a point where you have to say, it's worth the risk to try, and it's the same reason that people keep drafting Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, because there is a point in the draft where you say to yourself, like, okay, now I've evened out the risk and reward, and now it's worth a shot. Like, I can't keep leaving him out there. So, every year
I'd be more apt to do that on Strasburg because he's a pitcher who could be dominant. Paul, what's his upside? His league average.
Last year he was great. Pollock was a really good.
16 home runs in 60 games.
Yeah.
And
60 games. He played the whole year. He'd probably end up with 16.
And he probably stole. Yeah, well, didn't he steal bases? Doesn't he steal bases too?
He used to steal bases. I think he only.
No, he's not running now. He's not running.
I mean, anything can happen. I'm not saying it's a surefire thing, but if you want to play odds and of this happening, you stay away from these guys. I'd never, to answer your question. So I'd take Strasburg if it's under market. Pollock in a mixed league, I would never touch. I just have no interest in guys like that in a mixed league.
Well, that's paying off right now. Okay, Malpal. I actually have Pollock in a couple leagues, and he's freaking horrible. Okay, horrible. What about Michael Conforto? He's like doing nothing, zilch.
There's a lot of people doing very little.
But I'm not. There's nothing you could do. You just hope.
Yeah, you wait it out. The one thing I like to say about the injury is, like, there's this thing where you think these guys are injury prone. I drafted Strasburg too, but I remember the first guy was that Ian Kinsler. And he just was hurt for 4 or 5 years in a row. And then he played 1 year. He was before the injuries, he was one of the best players in fantasy baseball. Then he was injured 5 years in a row. And then he came back from injury 1 year, and he played almost every game for the next 4 years. It's you're injured till you're not. Just like you're saying, it's worth the gamble on a guy like Strasburg to say, what if, 2 years ago he had a year where he pitched 200 innings. It's it's in him,
That's how I know. It's
Yeah,
right.
I'm not unhappy with where I drafted him, and I still think he's going to be a good pitcher for me. So he misses 2-3 starts. It's like the other guys 70% of the pitchers, 80% of the pitchers are going to miss some starts this year.
Oh, totally. I agree with you.
It just hurts now because my pitcher has the days off in April. But, you talk about like Tyler Glass now. It's like no one thinks he's going to pitch every start. And there's very few people you think are that durable. I mean, maybe Bieber being young. DeGrom, because he proved it.
No, he has less of a chance being young than anybody.
Well, he's yet to have a real problem injury-wise that I've heard of.
So it's just really hard to predict injuries, but you can kind of see it with like Ron Chandler's book, The Forecaster, talks about the injury and how people that are injured, they spend a significant amount of time on the injury list, and they have that much more of a chance of getting on the injury list again. And it it keeps multiplying. If you're on the injury list for a sufficient amount of time, like 3 years in a row, your chances of going back on the injury list are way higher than a guy that, doesn't get hurt. And you can kind of look at their durability as far as like how late they go in games. How do they deal with injury? Like there's players that are injured all the freaking time, but they play through it because they just don't say anything about it, which could end up being a horrible thing for the team and for everybody involved. But there was a trade in Douglas's league that was vetoed, and it was. Go ahead. Sorry. I know you're itching.
I mentioned on this one because the thing. Yeah, I spend a lot of time as commissioner, so I don't offer bad trades. I don't believe I do that because you don't want to be and so I offered the trade just to set it up a little bit. I wasn't at the draft. This other guy wasn't at the draft. We auto drafted. So he had too many outfielders. I had too many middle infielders. He posted, I need a middle infielder. So I said, I kind of like, I looked at his outfielders, and his best outfielders were Marcell Ozuna, Aaron Judge, Nick Castellanos. I kind of like it.
Okay, now let me ask a question real quick. So you offered him Tim Anderson, and he was going to give you back Castellanos. Now, did this trade fit so that both of your rosters were going to be legal after this trade was?
Yeah. No, it was really because of the auto draft. It was really kind of crazy. He had actually drafted 10 outfielders, and I had drafted nine middle infielders. Now, admittedly, 5 outfielders start. And you have a utility spot. And with middle infielders, we're talking about that fit perfectly because it was both.
That algorithm shouldn't have not allowed.
It got vetoed, so I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out.
That was on auto draft. There's something wrong. That algorithm, once it fills up your slot.
Once you get to the bench, it's 30. It's a 30-man roster. Once you get to the bench, it just takes best player. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And so when he had outfielders higher on his list than I had. And I had middle infielders higher.
So you guys pre-ranked your players, and then it drafted like that.
That's how we knew we couldn't make it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the reason that the trade got vetoed, because it was accepted and then went through, and then you say it just.
Well, something new. I know it's been so long since I had a veto. I always had trouble. Yahoo changed the way that they do vetoes, and it used to be that you had to get more than half the people to vote for it, which I always thought was a bad rule. Almost nothing would ever get vetoed because. If you're in a 10-team league, 2 teams made the trade, so now you need to have 5.
How many people need to veto?
Well, now you only need to have 3.
And why did you ask them why?
No trade will get approved then.
What?
Did you ask the people that vetoed? Did you ask them why?
Yeah, I did ask them why, and the only person that responded back said that he thought that Tim Anderson was the best shortstop in the game. And everyone's entitled to their opinion, and you're clearly wrong about this. He's good, but he's nowhere near the best shortstop.
I think it's a fair trade. I think
it's a fair trade too.
I mean, everybody that's watching this video right now believes that is not a vetoable trade, and the fact that those 3 people vetoed your trade is unacceptable. That's how I feel about it. And I am not kidding.
They shouldn't be voting on it, Andrew. It should be the commissioner to decide.
It's 3 people out of the league that vetoed, and they need to give a reasonable explanation about why. And saying that you feel that Tim Anderson is the best shortstop in the league is an opinion, and it is not vetoable.
Yeah, and matter of fact, in the discussion when we told him that he was wrong about that, he agreed that he was top 5 shortstop. You know what I mean? Because it's just that's a crazy spot when there's Tatis, Turner, Trevor Story, all those. There's a lot of shortstops.
And so the fact of the matter is that these 3 teams didn't like your trade for whatever reason, and what if that happens? So what are your what can you do if it happens in your league?
Well, I tell you what I'm doing.
What? Please do, dude.
All right. The first thing I did my passive aggressive post where I said, hey, I need an outfielder. He needs a middle infielder. Just go to our lineups and tell us which two we should trade. Like, that's what I posted. I don't really care which ones they are. Just tell us who we should trade.
I like
The second thing that I did is this. It's like when you realize that 3 out of 10 is enough for a veto. I wrote, look, this is the benchmark for which all other trades are going to be vetoed by. And I can tell you for a fact that no one's going to offer a more fair trade than this in my eyes this year. I mean, it would be rare. It could happen.
So the only person,
so every other trade in this league has 2 votes against it already. So nothing's going through.
2 teams in the league that veto every trade, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that the team that had Tim Anderson and me is going to use this as a benchmark, meaning that every trade's going to be vetoed. The team that had Castellanos is going to use this as a benchmark. The trade that goes around has to be more fair than that trade, or else we're going to veto it. So the league is basically going to be a no trade league.
Have you been in this league for a couple years?
No, it's a weird situation. This is I had a long-term dynasty league which lost like 4 players last year and 3 players this year. And so we sort of scrambled and said to keep our guys together, we would throw together this other league, and we invited a few new people in.
So you know these guys?
I know 7 out of 10.
And which are the 2? Do you know the 2 that are vetoing your trade?
I know 2 out of the 3 people who vetoed it. I'm sorry, I know 1 out of 3 people who vetoed it.
The other 2 are just brand new to the league. What balls?
Yeah, they're friends of friends.
See, that to me is collusion, and there's something to be said because
they did it independently of each other.
No, okay,
we don't know that.
So then each of them have. We don't know that, and I want to know the other reasons why your trade is vetoed. And I would fight to the end. Do not give up. Fight. Ask your commissioner and make sure he tells you why this is happening. And if you see, Lenny has a very simple rule with trades. If you can explain how this trade helps your team, then that's all that you need to be able to do, because it's nobody else's business what their opinion is of who's going to help your team and who's not. If you can say, I think that this guy's going to give me stolen bases, and this guy, I mean, I'm already leading the league in home runs, so that's why I'm trading this player, because I don't need more home runs. I need stolen bases. And then the commissioner should say, okay, well, that, it's reasonable. But I don't think that it's fair for other teams to veto your trade without a reasonable explanation, because that is a fair trade. Like that, nobody in their right mind would say that's not a fair trade.
It's about as fair as it gets, because you consider the fact that if I had to go up 1 on his, like if I said, all right, I want a better outfielder, I don't want Judge, I would go, all right, Anderson for Ozuna, that would be the next trade. It wouldn't really make sense.
So they're saying Castellanos is not good enough for Tim Anderson.
The one guy that spoke up did. The other 2 have been sort of shamed.
At least he had the balls to say something, dude.
Yeah, I'll give him that. But the truth is, I actually appreciate the idea that some trades should be vetoed. And the big thing is you have to know the culture of the league. And because I know this league is only going to last for 1 year, it's sort of a stopgap so we can reform a dynasty league next year with the base players. I don't really care if there are no trades. That would actually be preferable for me. Every league that I play in, that I've ever played in, where I've put real big money down on,
how much
trades have been verboten. This is $25.
Okay, Douglas, I know you can speak up for yourself.
If you join a league, well, the other thing is that socially, as I'm trying to get people to rejoin a dynasty league that I'm the commissioner of, I don't want to be the a-hole on the league. You're
not the a-hole. You just said that this is going to set precedents for future of this league.
And that's fine. You need to make this league, there's no trades. I'm good with that.
You can you fought with that guy in our draft, like.
Well, that guy was a horrible human being.
Well,
that guy deserves to be hit by a truck. This guy just expresses opinion.
Okay.
His
opinion though is not good enough to veto trades. That's all there is to it. There's opinion and if you're upset because as far as I'm concerned, dude, you shouldn't even be vetoing trades unless you know that 2 people are cheating.
I actually think the thing I'm saying, like if you join NFBC or you join any of these big things, the general rule is no trades. Yeah. Because the truth is almost all trades cause a problem. It's almost better to not have a trade rule at all. And so I'm perfectly happy with 3 of us making a decision that we're going to vote down every trade that we think is worse than this one, and it being a no trade league, because every trade does benefit some people more than others.
True in real life too. But I brought up a trade to Andrea today.
Go ahead.
And you asked absolutely the right question, and I appreciate it. She asked, the trade was Varsho,
Mhm.
Wander Franco.
Wow.
Who's a pitcher, Andy?
It was Buxton, Wander Franco, Varsho, and Alicia Hernandez for Barrios, Hosmer, and Tim Anderson.
Which I think is grossly imbalanced.
Really?
Yeah, my question was, is this a dynasty
Tim
league?
Anderson, Hosmer, for a team that's got a trade, two of them aren't even playing.
Oh, sorry. I was assuming this was a dynasty league, right?
Right.
Well,
that's
that's the question Andrea asked, and it's yes, there are keepers, and that can change it. We made a rule in one of my leagues that you cannot make trades after the All-Star break from teams in the lower half of the league to teams in the top half.
I've had that in my league.
Because
Similar roles.
problem where people that fell out of the race, and Mitch Hartson has done this. If you fall out of the race, you start thinking, I'm not going to win, so all I want are some keepers for next year.
Yes, it happens. And that is a great rule. I think it's a great rule.
It is. It is. We had to do that. But you asked the right question, Andrea, and in view of the fact it's a dynasty league, I wouldn't mind having Wander Franco over Tim Anderson in a dynasty league.
It's almost impossible to veto a trade in a dynasty league. It's almost impossible to veto a trade in a dynasty league. It's almost impossible to maybe not veto it, but to say that a trade really is completely irrational.
Because of what Andrew said.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it happens. It's something that you kind of accept in dynasty leagues. You really kind of understand that if people can't compete, they start selling off parts, and that's okay to a certain point in the season.
3 weeks into the season? This guy just happens to be in last place, by the way.
I don't think you should be vetoing any trades at all right now. I don't think that I don't think anybody should be giving up on the season at this point. It's not even close to time to give up on the season.
Well, in a dynasty league, you can sometimes have a season where you know you're not going to compete before the season starts. That can happen in a dynasty league.
But so you kind of it's kind of like a real team when you're talking about trading players. You know that you're going to have to trade players, but do you? I don't know. I want to know. I want to know from Mal. Go ahead.
You convinced me that the trade is okay because it's a dynasty league. You really did. That's right.
I didn't say that though. I never said.
You asked the question, but you caused me to think about it. There's a different standard in a dynasty league, but it's awfully early to be doing a sell-off for keepers.
Even in dynasty leagues, somebody has to win. I always want to win now. I would never make that trade. Okay, I would never believe in Wander Franco.
I agree.
And anyway, Malpa, I want to know how you would react if this happened to you in a league where you have most of the league is people that you know, and there's a couple new guys. 3 of them veto your trade, and it's a fine trade. You know it's a fine trade. What do you do?
I quit the league.
Quit the league.
I'm 100% against vetoes, and I'm 100% for giving shit about trades. So, and I think it takes care of itself if you got a decent group of owners. You get sidetracked on these things. What's fair, what's not fair. Opens up a can of worms. I just like peer pressure to take care of it. That's my philosophy.
But what if it's the angry mob, dude? After you saying that, this is not a fair trade. This is not a fair, like screaming in your face. This is not a fair trade, and you're like, I know it is though.
Well, what can you do? What's your options? You can yell and scream, and they're not going to do anything, right?
Well, like I wouldn't yell and scream. Maybe I'd yell.
Is there a constitution in the league that sets forth the rules?
So that's kind of like how a lot of constitutions and long-standing leagues, it's an active document, so it's updated as they run into problems. They make rules to go, so that those problems don't happen again. And I know there's not like a bunch of options for people, but my option would be.
I'll say in Douglas's league, I think it's crazy to have a 30% rule where all it takes is 3 people. I think it should be 75%. Or 70% or whatever. It should be 7 owners.
You can't. I mean, literally, if you wanted 75%, you would have to have, in order to veto something, you would have to have everybody not involved in the trade vote against it.
Yeah,
how about 60%?
Because the veto power the veto power should only be for the absurd.
Well,
where
no,
the-
in,
where
in
everyone
reality,
agrees it's absurd. That's what I
50%.
think.
50 is way better than 30%. Because this is what
well,
happens.
it's 3 out of 8 players voted for it, so it's like 37.5%.
But
If they-
then take you out, and that's half.
No, I'm saying like there were 10, but you take the 2 teams that trade out, it's 3 out of 8. That's what it
Okay.
is, and so
There's
they
only
have
8 teams in this league.
no, there's 10.
Holy shit!
So you take the
So-
two out,
League.
that's 8. So you should have 6 people object.
6 out of 8,
75%.
or 5 out of 8.
Yeah, that's everybody. 6 out of 8. Well, 6 out of 8. Yeah, that would be one
So-
over the thing.
Well,
Yeah, I
yeah.
guess
So,
that's reasonable.
are you the one that set the rules about the veto thing?
No, I did not. Matter of fact, if I had set the rules, basically what I did was like I was trying to salvage the league that was going, and I couldn't, in good conscience, try to run a separate league. So I had my vice commissioner from that league go set up a league, right? And have a league so that people can just go over there and I can park these names for a year. You know what I mean?
Did he ask you how you wanted it set up? Did you?
No, he didn't. He just kind of did it. And I went in and I changed a few things because I'm his co-commissioner. And but I did catch this one. I didn't catch the veto one. I didn't check. I didn't look
sorry.
at it.
I would not let it go, especially because if you think that this is going to set precedent
I
for the
actually
future.
I think that when I really had a day to think about it, because whoever this person was that complained, he's an LA guy, so we're on different time schedules. We're not together, so I had 6 hours to think about things. It wasn't like just the anger of the moment.
What did you find out though?
What I realized was like I think that in my life, there has never been a situation where a trade has made a league better. And it's like I'd rather play in leagues with no trades, and I'm good with that. That's basically why I'm letting it go.
Particularly if you do like NFBC and spend a lot of money, $1,500.
For sure. I mean, absolutely. There are definitely. I don't even like trades. I think
That's what I'm saying.
They're just an annoyance.
It's like if I had to go, it's like the truth is in dynasty leagues you have this, like if you commission a dynasty league, you have this one weekend a year, and whatever your deadline is for where the guys can trade their scraps for players. It's like just nuts, just crazy things go on. And if you have this belief that nothing should be vetoed, the worst trades in the world go on. And I have this one thing that I would always say as a commissioner. It's like, hey, it's perfectly fine for you to sell off your team, right? But you shouldn't go, my team sucks. Here's my 5 good players. They're all going to one team.
And that's
for 3
collusion.
players.
That's
You should
collusion.
no. It's just because
in a normal
lazy.
everyday redraft league, that's collusion. If you're
Yeah.
working with somebody and saying to them, "I'm going to give you all the best players so you can win," that's collusion.
No, but this we're talking about dynasty, and we're not saying they're saying it overtly. They're saying like I'm playing for next year, so I'm going to take 2 young guys from your team and 3 minor leaguers for that. But I think that the team that's selling off has like a sort of a moral obligation to sell to more than one team. You shouldn't take all 7 of your good players and park them on one team.
Agree.
You know,
totally.
Can I ask?
Go ahead, Mitchell.
Can I ask a technical question?
Yes.
How are people able to put their questions right here on the screen? Are they on Facebook doing it live?
If they're on Facebook, if they're on Facebook, if they're on the Facebook,
we're still learning StreamYard.
And they type into the comments. I can see the comments and I can show it live. Like for instance, here's Darlene who really likes Andrea. You go, girl. You are so good on the radio.
I love Darlene.
So it's on Facebook Live. I thought it was just on. It goes on YouTube archive, but this is live on Facebook.
It's live on YouTube.
It's technically live on YouTube. Yeah, but we're not checking the YouTube comments.
Darlene is my mother's best friend from high school. Okay, they've been friends for.
Okay, that's cool.
You know what?
Do you know who Poncho Sixsider is?
I don't know Poncho, but I like him too.
He's a good
guy. You want to know? Can I mention it's a real simple solution we did? I'm in a league. It's been in 30 years. We've never had a veto. How we take care of it is to keep people incentivized, to keep a good team is we have 10 teams, 1 through 4 get the money. Then the draft for the next year, the first pick is the 5th place team, 6th place team, 7th place team, 8th place team, and 9th place team, and so on. That way there's an incentive. We've never had a problem. Every team always is striving for that 5th place.
That's just smart.
So no one tanks. And then we do it where the first 2 rounds of the draft the following year are not in snake order. So there's a real there's a real incentive to not make lousy trades and not to dump and tank.
That's good. That's good. I
like the second part of it more than I like the first part, because I worry about the team that just misses the playoffs is often very good, and it might disincentivize the bad teams if the good teams are constantly getting the picks and stuff.
Well, if you're paying out, you're just giving the first pick to the next guy the first guy that didn't get paid, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you're in last place, you get the 5th pick instead of the first pick. And if you're in 5th place, you get the first pick.
The 18
in leagues where you pay the last person, the person that finishes last has to pay for the other guy the next year. Like you get punished.
Stuff like that,
You lose fab money. In Tout Wars, we lose fab money for coming in at the end. The next year, we start out with that many more dollars less than what everybody else gets. You know,
that's not too unreasonable. But most of the punishments I've heard, like doubling money or stuff, it's like one of the hard things about running a dynasty league is keeping everyone together. And you just don't want the ninth guy, 10th guy, 12th guy might tune out anyway. And when you punish him for tuning out, he'll I'm not going to pay.
You're perpetuating mediocrity.
Yeah.
By taking fab money, the last place team needs fab money just as much as anybody else. There has to be
a small amount of fab money is a minor enough play that it doesn't. How much do they lose, Andrea? In that it's like you lose like 15, like one for every team, right, or something like that. If you come in last, how much fab money do you lose?
Oh, I don't even know exactly how much it is because I don't ever come in last. Ever.
I know Tim McLeod came in last one year, and I heard him say that.
But I you do lose money, a substantial amount. I think about up to $100 or something out of $1,000 fab, or maybe 200. I don't know, but it gets pretty hard.
To me, that suppresses competition, because when I start the year, I want every team in the league to start just like real life baseball with a dream of winning. And I don't want to start a league.
Everybody has it, even with a few.
I don't want to start the year short of fab money. There's got to be a better way than that. That's just me.
Well,
you would think that in a league like Tout, made up of people who purport to be more expert than even us, they would just play out of, well, they're good at this thing and they love the game.
I spent $18 on Tyler Naquin, and that's out of $100 fab. And I've already spent $50 of my $100 fab in labor.
I have too. Yeah.
Naquin is the worst nightmare of anybody. This is exactly whenever you're bidding on players at the end of the week, you have this nightmare where if you bid on this player because he's playing well right now, that he's just going to stop playing. And Tyler Naquin has done that totally. He's batting like less than 100 over the last 7 days.
They've got a glove. My problem with Naquin is they've got 6 outfielders.
Whatever, dude. If
you've got so many outfielders, the minute you have a cold week, you're right headed to the bench.
I don't even want him on my team if he's having cold weeks, because this is the type. I mean,
everybody has cold weeks, Andrea.
Sorry. He doesn't deserve it yet. He just doesn't deserve one. Okay. But yes, you're right. They do have a crowded outfield.
That's almost 20% of your fab. That's a big investment.
It was stupid. Sometimes I do the stupidest shit.
Don't feel bad. I do. Don't we all?
I dropped Adam Duvall the other day.
I paid $26 for Anthony Swarzak 2 years ago.
Okay, well, whatever it is, dude. We all do stupid things, but like for some reason, I just don't. I'm standing there and I'm like, okay, Adam Duvall has the worst batting average, but he's hitting home runs, and he has been the whole season.
Yeah, the crazy thing is he had most of them in one game that I benched him for this last week.
Okay, I benched him that day too, and that was the day that I decided I was going to drop him to pick up a pitcher or something. It was so stupid, and I did not get him back.
But can I go back to Steven Strasburg for a minute?
Oh, please.
This is really a pet peeve of mine.
What?
It was obvious. I watched that game. The man was having trouble on every throw. Why did they leave him in there?
His velocity was down.
I don't get it. You know what? I really don't understand it. I'm not a pitching coach. I'm not the bench coach. I'm not the manager. It was obvious to me that he was in some kind of pain.
What about Luis Castillo? He's got a horrible ERA right now? I don't
think Luis Castillo has got an injury issue. You could tell by watching Strasburg, he wasn't completely finishing. I watched it. To me, it was obvious, and I'm not a coach, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but he should not have been left in there. The same thing was true as Corbin. He was. They let him give up 10 runs before they.
He's horrible. He's horrible. Why would they? Okay,
It's not fair to the player
or the team or anything. I don't think that
or
anybody
the fans or anybody. It was stupid.
leaving a pitcher in after he's walked like 4 or 5 batters. That's my thing. I don't understand why they leave pitchers in that are walking batters.
Right.
But Strasburg, if like Corbin has been horrible, and you got him at a discount, but I'm not even putting up with it because my lease with him is so.
He will be on the injured list within the next 72 hours.
Okay, so Kyle Lewis. Does anybody have Kyle Lewis on their team?
Yes.
He's
I
coming
want
back
to, but he's coming back.
Tuesday. He'll be back. Okay, are you feeling happy about that? Who do you get to replace?
Trammell's like not doing well. He's the guy who's going to step back on the Mariners, not on my team.
Yeah, I thought you liked Taylor Trammell though.
I do, but he's got 42% strikeout rate. He's just not doing the things we were hoping that he'd do.
No, look, he was a placeholder, Doug.
Yeah. Well, he was really a placeholder for Kalenic, but he's the one that's gonna.
All right.
He's gonna lose now.
Now, pal, how we have with Cunha, I don't really know how often he's going to play, or I mean, Tatis, if he's going to play all the time. But then you have another injury on that team. Trent, there's lots of things going on, lots of moving pieces. Profar is, he's just a utility guy, right? That's what we keep saying, that he's just a guy that just fills in and plays all. What's his role on this team?
I think he's the 4th outfielder, and he's a backup second baseman.
Okay.
Saying that, he's, like I mentioned to you, between Tommy Pham and Will Myers and Trent Grisham, there's a lot of pulled muscles in that group.
Yeah.
So he's going to get, my prediction is he's going to get 450, 500 at-bats. I treat him like almost a full-time player.
Okay. Grisham, he has a problem too with his day-to-day quad muscles. You know, you just said there's lots of muscle problems. Okay. So Trent Grisham is out of the lineup today. Do you know anything more about what his tightness, like, I don't know.
He's day-to-day. That's what I read before coming on. I think the big news out of San Diego is Lamet's supposed to start Wednesday.
Yay! Okay. I just woke up Lenny.
And Ryan Weathers they're going to get him a start as well. So they may be going to a 6-man rotation in San Diego.
6-man rotation, and somebody called. I know you didn't listen to our show yesterday, but somebody called in and wanted to know about when is Mackenzie Gore coming up. And I don't think I said the same thing you would say, but I don't think he's going to have a spot in this roster. I don't think he's coming up
this year. Not this year. I think he's next year. What do you say, Mel, pal? You're close.
It's really weird. I think I mentioned last week, with no minor league games yet, it's really hard to know what they're thinking of someone like Gore, because he's all about, command. If he doesn't have his command like any other pitcher, he's going to struggle, and he struggled with his command in 19-some. So has he fixed that in these?
We don't know because it's a big secret.
We don't know. So it's just a guess. I think there's going to be spots in that rotation just because of injuries. They're going to have a natural rotation between Snell and Darvish and Paddock. These guys are going to be missing starts. So I would say 50-50. I wouldn't rule it out, but I wouldn't sit here and put all my eggs in that basket either.
This is horrible what's happening, because I forget about the fact that we can't see stats for all of last year. Even though there was only 60 games, there was still an alternate training site, and people were working out there, and the minor leaguers that were the most important minor leaguers on every team were at the alternate training site, and they weren't playing games, but we have no idea. All we know is that Mackenzie Gore's last stats that are recorded were in 2019 at AA, and so we have no idea how far he's come with his command, how far he's come. He's obviously not playing in games, so it's just he's not the only one. Every single minor leaguer that you look for is not none of
Right.
their
But
stats for 2 years.
Go
They
ahead.
clearly think Ryan Weathers is ahead of Gore, which is, and he was drafted 2 years after Gore. So he's younger, so he doesn't have as much experience as Gore.
This guy, dude, Ryan Weathers, okay, this is crazy about him. He has not even made it to high A yet. He never even made it to high A.
Right. He pitched in the playoffs last year. Major League debut in the playoffs.
So,
Andrea, will any of you subscribe to streaming for MILB, which kicks off on May 1st? I'm going to.
maybe.
It's dirt cheap.
I didn't know you could. And I think
No, MLB, you go to MLB.com and get all minor league teams.
well,
Yeah.
Mitchell, my plan is to get Lenny his second shot so that we can actually go to these minor league games, maybe.
I'm
Because
just saying, if you didn't know that's available, that is a really good.
I didn't. No,
Like
I used to be
huh?
I used to be a partial package season ticket holder for the team that was Kissimmee that moved away when the Astros were here, and they gave me that streaming for free for being part of it.
that's nice.
It's
Hey,
cheap.
Mitchell,
Yes.
we came to see you. We went to the Nationals minor league squad ballpark, and it's the one with they have the what do you call them? They were like life-size statues of the players. They had Strasburg there.
Really? Was that in Woodbridge, Prince William County, the high A team?
Nationals. It was a Nationals
No,
park.
they had a high A team in Woodbridge, but they moved to Fredericksburg now. They're called the
Fredericksburg is where we went. Fredericksburg.
Okay, that's a brand new ballpark.
And we walked across this bridge, and there were like freaking spiders all over the bridge. Okay, all over the sides of the bridge. Anyway, you didn't have to touch them or anything, but that was a great ballpark. It has these life-size bobbleheads of 4 or 5 different players, and it was just, minor league.
I went up there; they wouldn't let me in. The players sent to the camp were out there working out, and it was still under construction. I just popped in on it one day when I was driving down 95, and they kicked me out.
Lots of food at these minor league parks now, and drinks. Lots of drink choices. Okay, moving on. All right. So the rules. Douglas brought up a couple of things that we should maybe just go over real quick about the rules that they've implemented lately with the runner on second automatically if you go into extra innings, and also what's the other rule?
I can put in context.
Okay.
I have Luis Robert on a team, right? And he's a weird guy because he bats either second or seventh, right? He has a double header, but now double headers are 7 innings, right? So in 7 innings, you're guaranteed to have 21 people come to the plate. You figure the average whip of a baseball pitcher is about 1.2, so you add about 8 more to it. So you're looking at about 29, 30 players come to the plate. If the guy bats 7th, he's going to have 2 less at bats than if he bats 2nd.
What is this different than a 9-inning game?
In a 9-inning game, it starts out that everyone's even. If there's 27 outs, so everybody starts with they're going to get 3 at bats. I mean, the truth is, if things go really bad for the guys at the end, they could go out they could leave a doubleheader with only 4 at bats, which is less than many guys get in a standard game.
So because they start 2 games, they're starting at the beginning of the lineup again. They're playing 4 innings less, which means that the guys at the end of the lineup are going to get screwed twice in the same day.
So it used to be a thing, like if you had a player who's in a doubleheader, you would just kind of go, I'm going to start him because he's going to accrue stuff. Totally. And then you would get ticked off because he'd go 1 for 9 with 6 strikeouts. But now it's like you have to actually kind of think about it and go, I'd rather have a guy leading off, a guy batting early in a single game than a guy batting late in a doubleheader, especially because you're not usually talking about the best players in the world. I think that Luis Robert's among the better hitters that are batting 7, 8, 9 in the league. There's not a lot of them.
Why is he batting so low in the order?
Because Eaton has been hot and he's taken the 2nd spot. Adam Eaton.
Eaton was already up at the top of the order, though.
Well,
Roberts took 3rd the last 2 games, by the way.
Really? Eaton. What happened was Eaton led off when Anderson was out,
but I
and then they kept Eaton there.
I hear what you're saying. It would, if you have a choice to throw in, like you have a choice between 2 players to play that day, and you have one of them going and having a double header, but this batter bats like 8th or 7th, okay? And then you have another guy that's only playing 1 game, but he bats 3rd. there is something to be said about like maybe you should reconsider if a guy is batting in the lower half, because that is true. He is going to get significantly less at bats than the guy at the top of the lineup. And that is really true.
And with the 7-inning games, yeah, it's true across the board for the year. But with the 7-inning games, you notice it within a day.
What about the fact that you start with runners on second base and the pitchers, the managers are always, the game always turns from a high leverage situation, which means that there's now runners in scoring position immediately, okay, in inning 10. The significance of a manager having more than one capable closer on their team increases, and it could be part of the reason why we see so many closer by committees, because now teams are encouraged to roster more than one capable closer, which could be leading to this committee thing, which we're seeing an increase all around the board.
Can I flesh out what I was thinking?
Please.
Basically, it's like this. It's like in the 10th inning right now. I asked somebody to run a bunch of stats for me, and it turns out that very few teams are taking the 10th inning seriously just as of yet. You know, we only had it for 2 innings for 2 years. Like there's only been like 4 pitchers that have pitched. So like one pitcher has pitched 4 times in the 10th inning, and 3 pitchers who have pitched in 3 times. And the idea is you could win the game if you win the 10th inning, and they're treating it like it's just any other spot. Last week, David Price came in the 10th inning and got a win. Like, this isn't the closer guy, but this is a marquee pitcher pitching that game.
Oh,
and it got them a win. And somebody should notice this, that they're that close. It's like right now, it's like if you want to win tomorrow, you gotta beat the team 9 innings. If you want to win today, you just got to beat them 1. And so you need to sort of have a David Price in reserve. And it's not like, oh, well, that would be a good reason to have a 6-pitcher rotation, because you just pull the next pitcher up and say, instead of you pitching 9 innings tomorrow, you pitched 1 inning today. But the real thing is you need to have a guy in reserve that's capable of pitching with a runner on second in order to be a team that wins these games. Every team gets about 20 extra games a year, and you can sort of ignore it and hope everybody goes 10-10. But if somebody really were to pay attention to this, and I think that it's slowly happening, we just don't have the data yet. The reason why you might want to have 2 capable closers, because you want one guy to pitch the 9th and one guy to pitch the 10th. Because
you brought up the closer by committee thing, and I thought that really made sense.
That makes more sense than the six pitchers.
No, having a 6th starter is great too. Having a guy like David Price, I mean, who wouldn't want a guy like David Price on their roster?
If you could afford to have a David Price, but I'm thinking more if you had 6 starters, like you probably wouldn't. If the next guy up was Garrett Cole for the Yankees, you probably wouldn't want him only to pitch 1 inning when he could pitch 6 tomorrow.
Hey, Malco, just whenever you have to go, just take your earbuds out and turn off your screen. Make sure you turn off your screen though, because we've seen a lot of funny things happen when people think their camera's off. You know.
Okay.
I mean, Malco, what do you think about the do you think there's a change in the bullpen roles?
Malpow.
I haven't studied it. I have a question though. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It seemed to me that
the question is great.
The stronger the bullpen, the more advantage. You get a team like the Yankees when they're healthy, that would really serve them well. I had a question though, like why, if you're a visiting team and you didn't score in the top of the 10th, right? Why doesn't when you're facing the team in the bottom of the inning, why wouldn't you automatically walk the first batter?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know why. Because it would make a force at third base. Like
or
you would think
that it opens up a double play. He's right.
Right.
Why
haven't we seen this?
If you watch international baseball, where this rule's been in place for 15, 20 years, it's like if you get to the 10th inning, it's like a script happens. First batter gets walked. Second batter bunts them to second and third.
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it at all?
I watched USA, the qualifiers for the
I'm talking
Olympics.
about since they've instilled this rule about having a runner on second automatically in the 10th inning. Has anybody seen a pitcher walk a batter immediately?
No, I have not seen many bunts either.
Well, we've stopped bunting for sure. We don't play small ball.
I
That's
mean,
part of the problem in baseball today.
I
You
mean,
have
if you
runners
think
on second and third, and then you come in and you swing for the fences with nobody out. It's the dumbest thing.
you would think
Right.
that if you came into the 10th inning and you're the batter and you have no outs and there's a runner on second, you can win this game with a sacrifice fly. Everybody should be bunting that first hit,
They
I
still
couldn't
get
agree with
to
you more.
come up.
I'm in
They-
total agreement.
Yeah,
but
they
no one's doing it.
But you know what this rule is? This rule is the baseball equivalent of the power play in the NHL.
And I agree with you, and that's part of my thinking is that most
Yes.
NHL teams have I was thinking of like their shootout at the end. They have shootout specialists.
But the power play takes away a player. Now it is a result of a penalty that's called. But this is essentially, I heard a comment on MLB radio that when you have this rule, I think it was Steve Phillips maybe, when you have this rule, there are people who will stay at the game in anticipation of how exciting this is going to be to see this runner at second. I'm just telling you what he said. I don't necessarily agree with him.
the players love the second base
They do.
runner.
They
Yes.
do.
Well, I heard two different players on MLB radio this offseason.
The pitchers can't love it.
Pitchers hate it. The players like it.
What
Right.
pitcher hates it?
I mean,
Why would a
I've
pitcher
seen
like it?
tweets from like Mike Clevenger. I saw a tweet from a while ago.
Yeah, they don't like it because why should they get stuck with this runner? I hope they don't get stuck with this
It's
runner.
fair.
It's an unearned run.
It's fair
We are-
for them not to like it. It's very
Okay.
fair. It's unfair to the pitcher in a way.
Totally, but if they don't get stuck with it. The reason that it was coming from the players' point of view was that they just feel like it keeps the game shorter. Like they want to
No,
get it over.
They're
with
right.
as
They don't
much
want to be
as
playing 18 innings.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like
I don't
what-
like it.
yeah. I agree. The games shouldn't go more than maybe 12 innings tops.
I feel like the things that they change in baseball are the most ridiculous. If you always got to think about what your goal is. If your goal is to gain fans, then don't do something completely against
Well-
gaining fans, or like
Hey,
shortening the game.
Andy, what we need
Make
is
it less
we
boring.
need the pitch clock right now.
The pitch clock.
They
I
have
don't.
a pitch
Right
I agree.
now. You
I-
want to move the game forward? Don't be standing out there picking your nose and scratching your ass.
So
You
the
get
minor
the ball,
leagues,
get up in the mound, take 15 seconds and heave the ball.
they get to be the guinea pigs, the poor minor leaguers, right? So
the Atlantic League.
they've had pitch clock in Arizona Fall League for a while,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
true,
so amazed at how
Well,
long
the-
it takes
The
these
pitch
guys.
It
clock
works
is
well.
the
It works
rule
well,
in the
too.
majors. They just don't use it. They just don't enforce it.
But they don't do anything.
I gotta
to run out.
go. I gotta go.
Bye, Mel. I'm sorry.
Thanks, pal.
It was
Okay.
good
See you
seeing you.
next week. Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
He's wearing a White Sox hat today. He's not a Padres fan, I guess. Anyways, so they've had this pitch clock, and I wonder if just having that pitch clock, I thought to myself, oh, that's great that they do this while they're young, and maybe they get them into the habit of not taking forever on the mound. And the problem is that when the pitch clock runs out, they don't fucking do anything.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't do anything. Like, why aren't you being punished for this? Shouldn't the
Yeah,
guy get on first base because the pitch clock has run out?
No, if you're not going to enforce the pitch clock, there's no point in having it.
Why bother?
Right. I
So,
agree. I
There's
agree.
several other things that they're doing, like they're moving the rubber.
Yeah, that's horrible. I can't buy that.
That sucks. They're doing too much. They're doing too much fiddling around.
The truth is,
That sucks.
I don't see the pitchers having a disadvantage in the game. It's like if you look at what is like the batters are winning one battle. They're winning the home run
disadvantage is
battle.
having a runner in scoring position. I
Yeah,
mean,
but everywhere else the pitchers the pitchers are just doing fine. I guess I'm screwing up my thoughts right now. It's like the people are scoring more runs, but they're concerned with the pitchers having an advantage because they're scoring runs in a way that keeps the game less interesting because it's almost all strikeouts and home runs, strikeouts and home runs, strikeouts and home runs. That's it.
it's three true outcome hitters. That's what we have. Three true.
But
outcome.
it's 3-through outcome baseball now. And the truth is, one of the things I like about the runner on second base, I mean, I hate it on principle, but with the runner on second base, the game is intense, and people think
It's
about
high, yes, it's high.
it's like the guy's not like I need to hit a home run to win. The guy's like, if I can just get good contact to the right side, we're getting that run in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
that kind of thing. And there's something to be said for a clutch single and a guy taking 2 bases.
So the Yankees, in other news, the Yankees fans were pissed off. They have been pissed off for the last couple of days because they're sick and tired of their players not hustling. Yankee fans are known to be, they expect a lot out of their players. They expect a team that can win on the field every year. They're not getting that right now. And like Gary Sanchez is the worst. I brought this up yesterday on the show.
They should be playing that Japanese guy. But he's so much better than Sanchez. It's ridiculous.
It's going to happen.
When you don't even try to run, like when you give up, the fans get very annoyed, and they started throwing stuff out on the.
Well, that's uncalled. That's not appropriate. I don't like that.
I don't either, but that's just how it goes. That's how the fans tell the players that they are sick and tired of losing.
There's no excuse for that team having the record they've got. None.
Well, and then I complained on Saturday about Aaron Boone and what a weenie he is and how he needs to grow a pair and tell these players that if you don't hustle, I am going to bench you no matter who you are.
He should bring in Talkman, Mike Ford. I'd replace the whole lineup. Put their butts on the bench for about a week.
Matter of fact, why not do that considering they're losing all the time, why not do that for 2 or 3 days?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I would do.
But the
You can't do
managers
worse.
are too busy trying not to hurt anybody's feelings all the time.
No, you need to hurt their feelings because they're underperforming.
This is the quality that when you look back in your life and you say to yourself, I love that coach because he told me what was up and he made me hustle. And he hurt my feelings at the time, but he made me into a better person by. We all
know people who have done that for us.
Yes.
And we're all better because of that.
I mean,
even we might have been ticked off at the time.
But the problem is, it's just like Ozzie Guillen. I'm a big fan. I mean, I know he's inappropriate. If you're not a White Sox fan, you probably don't even like him. But I like the White Sox because of Ozzie Guillen. Because he made baseball absolutely fun. And you just don't see guys like Ozzie Guillen anymore.
Well, I liked Ozzie Guillen. I did, yeah. I don't think Bryce Harper likes him too much. Did you ever see the dust-up between Harper and Guillen?
I didn't. I probably did, but
Guillen
I don't recall it. I just remember when Ozzie Guillen lost his Bartolo Colon was pitching for the White Sox. He couldn't find Bartolo Colon. He was like, Bartolo Colon is missing. He's like, in his accent, he's like, Michael Jackson just died, and he was a big fan of Michael Jackson. So he was like, I don't know what he is. I haven't been able to get a hold of him for like a week, but he just didn't show up for the games or anything, dude. And it was, I remember that completely. But anyway, moving on. So like, I guess that from what I read, Aaron Boone did have a tongue lashing for the Yankees hitters, and also, it's not just their hitting, but their errors, right? So that day, the next day, that Aaron Boone said, we're not doing any batting practice today. We're not warming up batting. We're going to be throwing infield.
Pepper.
We're defense.
Pepper
we're doing defense, yeah. So the errors thing is not the only. I mean, for fantasy-minded people, the errors we don't give a crap about. We were like, why in the world?
They're actually kind of helpful sometimes.
I mean, Judge comes out every once in a while and hits a couple home runs, so it makes him at least like rosterable. But these other guys like Aaron Hicks and Clint Frazier.
Frazier's off. I don't know what happened to him.
I have Corey Kluber on my team, and he only has 4 earned runs instead of 6 because they can't field. Like, thank you guys.
Right. So the defense does affect fantasy owners, whether we like it or not.
Gleyber Torres has never been a gazelle on defense. Never.
Right. And he's extra bad this year. And I mean, Gary Sanchez, as far as Garrett Cole refuses to pitch when
I don't think Garrett Cole. I can't think of the kid's name, but this guy is terrific. Is it Hasegawa? I can't remember the guy's name.
Higashioka.
Okay. That guy's
Douglas,
good.
I'm so impressed by you.
Higgy.
Yeah, really. Got a question?
I like the Asian players. Actually, I follow that more than most.
Tim McLeod, you know Tim McLeod.
Yeah, he
follows it. So
that's actually how we started talking. Was we talked about Asian guys.
The other thing is that the Mets are really behind as far as the number of games that they played. And yes, I bash on Michael Conforto, but I have to keep in mind that they have not played all of their games. In fact, so the COVID has affected baseball, even though it's not as talked about. I don't know if it's
It's
talked
not as
about
in
or
your
not,
face as it was last year.
but it had
It's sort of
yeah.
It is affecting some teams, though.
Some
Steve.
teams fans are saying yes, it is affecting. Like it is in my face because it's my team, and the Mets were one of the teams that were affected just because they were going to play a team that had several cases of COVID.
That's right.
The Astros right now are without 5 of their best players, and that is because they're on the COVID-19. They're not legally allowed to say whether or not they have COVID, but they've been close enough to.
They're exposed.
Yes, it's been enough to get them into quarantine, and so then Lance McCullers comes out and says they shouldn't be playing these. They shouldn't be making us play these games because we are at a competitive advantage. Because we're missing Altuve, like we're missing like Jordan Alvarez, we're missing all of our good players. So the actual turnout of that is that there is a rule in the CBA that says that games cannot be stopped just because you can't compete, as long as you have enough players at the alternate training site to make up for the loss of players that need to go on the aisle. Well, like you already have 40 men on your roster, so games should never be canceled based on the competitive advantage or disadvantage. But it's clear that both the Nationals and the Houston Astros now are dealing with a competitive disadvantage because this COVID, just being in quarantine. And how are these players getting COVID right now when they've been like, it baffles me.
Well, Jake McGee, has been great.
Yeah.
And
he's on the COVID list.
It just so happens he just had his second COVID shot.
So he's having problems with the vaccine. That's a complete another set of people.
It affected his performance.
That's what everything is. If everyone got vaccinated, you could theoretically go, all right, we'll take today off. We'll have a doubleheader in 2 days, when people are better. But this is whole teams are missing players.
So the goal for MLB to lessen the to relax on the restrictions and the rules is 85%, and they say if 85% of the team is vaccinated, then we can relax some of the rules. But this is a serious question. I'm not trying to argue or anything. I wonder what about being vaccinated, because they say, do you agree that you can still transmit the disease and you can still get the disease if you're vaccinated?
Yeah,
that's a bit of an unknown quantity.
You don't die from the infection. You can still get COVID after you're vaccinated.
So if you get vaccinated, okay, and you get COVID, then you aren't going to have as many side effects, like as deep
you probably will not get seriously ill.
Okay.
It does not mean you cannot contract COVID.
Right.
It means that if you contract COVID, the effects will be mitigated by the antibodies that you already have.
Right. So you won't get as sick.
You can catch it and you can spread it.
No, the thing about spreading it is not medical fact yet.
Okay, but
what happened was
Mitchell, I agree with Mitchell, and that what we know so far is that you can still get it. It's the vaccine will prevent you from having to be hospitalized or
dying, and probably keep you from dying.
It'll stop a good number of people from getting any kind of real illness.
Okay,
right, and there's evidence to show that even if you get that you won't pass anything on to anyone else.
Well,
that's probably true.
Wait. If you get the vaccine, you won't pass the virus.
Much less chance.
It's much lesser. It's they can't say what happened was this is that they needed to get this vaccine out as fast as possible, right? And they got it out in a tremendous medical miracle period of time, right? In under a year. In the normal process of doing a vaccine, there is this testing to see, like they were only concerned about, are you going to keep the vaccinated healthy? They weren't concerned about the other things. Normally you would do that, but that would probably have added.
What other thing?
Well, the other thing is, if you have the shot, does that keep you from getting other people sick? Like, that's another thing. But they skipped that, and that was a good idea because that would have added 12 months to the time to get the vaccine.
You can still get it.
You can still get it, but your odds of getting it have dropped significantly. They dropped from 50-50 maybe to, if you're exposed, from 50-50 to like 93%, 90, whatever they're saying it is.
So if you're vaccinated, and then what would be the difference? So like if I'm not vaccinated or if I am vaccinated, what's the difference for you?
That if you run into the virus, first off, and the big thing that everyone's selling is there's a minuscule chance you're going to the hospital and almost no chance you're going to die. But the big thing is that if you run into the virus, you might shrug it off with nothing. We don't know what the percentage is.
Don't know
Okay, but for you, what's the difference for you if
That's what
I'm
I'm saying.
vaccinated?
Is that if you get it, you may never slough anything off to anybody else. You may never. That's something that there is evidence saying that the person who gets vaccinated will, if infected, which is much lesser chance, give off less stuff than he would otherwise.
Oh, so if I spread it, I'm spreading less if I'm vaccinated.
Well, that's the whole idea behind the mask.
But if I spread it to you and you get sick, now you're vaccinated, so you don't really have to worry about that as much.
No, it's
right?
true. Actually, they a week ago they said that if you were in a smaller group, not like under 25, and everyone was vaccinated, you didn't have to wear masks.
Okay, but I absolutely want to believe the science here, and I want to understand I just want to understand all points of view. I want to know.
Yeah, the big part here is that they skipped part of it to get the thing out
Whether
faster.
or not they skipped it, but see, that's the scary part, is because they're on TV and they are like, if you don't take this vaccine, then you are part of the problem. Like, we cannot eradicate this virus without everybody being like. I feel like, why are they pushing this so hard when they don't even?
Because they're trying to.
Some people,
But
some people want COVID to be behind us.
Herd immunity.
The reason, I'm not saying they're right, but you asked a question. I'm trying to answer it.
Yeah, some people want COVID
by
to be behind
most
us.
of the experts is that once you reach herd immunity, the pandemic is over with. That's been true of virtually every virus that we've ever had. Because now, let me tell you the number they don't know, and nobody's mentioned this. There are millions of people, in my opinion, and I don't have data, so I should shut up and I'm going to say it. And that's never stopped me before. There are millions of people who have been infected with COVID and were asymptomatic and don't have a clue.
Absolutely.
They were infected and they developed antibodies.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, when you look at, they say 70% of the people need to be either vaccinated. I say the 70% includes people who are unwitting, that were infected and asymptomatic. When you add the millions of people who have been infected and recovered to the other millions of people who have been vaccinated, we're going to come close to 70%, excuse me, by the end of the summer. And Manfred's goal was for every major league player to receive 2 vaccinations by May 1st.
That's scary. It's scary.
I'm just telling you what his goal was. Because the belief in Secaucus or wherever hell their office is, the belief in New York City is that if the players are vaccinated and don't go out to the nightclubs and get drunk after the games, you will not have these games called off because they're in a bubble with only vaccinated people. That's the theory.
But a vaccinated person can go and get the disease or the virus and bring it back to all the vaccinated people, and it still doesn't stop the spread of the COVID.
Well, if he's vaccinated, there is 90% less chance of him
even
getting in the first place. And then when he gets back, there's if the other guys are vaccinated, they all have a 90% chance of not getting it from him. And because the guy who has it is vaccinated, he's giving off a lesser load. So it'll be an all around better situation.
Yeah, it will solve the problem of these games being essentially. It will come close to solving the problems that you got with Houston and the Nationals and whatever.
It'll feel more like just having the flu.
But they still have to quarantine. They still have to wear their mask, and they still have to quarantine if they're around somebody that was tested. Another thing about the test, when you continue to test and test and test and test, I think it's important to realize that the tests are very susceptible to errors, and the errors are built into the test.
The tests are not reliable. We all agree.
The faster the test is, the more unreliable it is.
You can take this to the bank. You're going to have to get an annual COVID vaccine, just like you get the annual.
That's another thing.
At least
so now they say you have to get it a year, every year.
Because you have to get the flu. You have to get it mutates.
So is it unreasonable to think like this way, to say, is it unreasonable to think that that the way that the vaccine, the quickness that the vaccine was pushed out onto the people, along with the fact that this mRNA type of vaccine has never been used for anything on anybody in any way, okay, and the fact that they're pushing it on you so hard, even though you can still catch it and transmit it, on top of the fact that you still have to wear a mask and you're only allowed to hang out with people that are vaccinated, but you can still get it. And I wonder, for those people that are under the age of 50, if it's even reasonable to say that you should take this vaccine when we do not know. Just like with COVID, we don't know. And if anybody tells you that they know.
It hasn't been, there's no mandate. People can choose not to take it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but people are choosing not to take it.
No one's being compelled.
You say it's unfortunate, but I don't understand
because it's like
any impact on
I believe that the biggest thing that's happened in my life in the last 13 months is the world's gone to kind of crap because we've been dealing with coronavirus. And so it's like if they told me that I have to run outside and do 30 jumping jacks every morning and that'll prevent coronavirus, and there was some good medical science,
my problem is
I'd be out there jumping. That's
not my problem. I would do anything also to get rid of COVID. No, you won't, because you have to. But what they tell you should be questioned. And when you question it logically and you say to yourself, I could still get it, I could still transmit it.
You can still get it, but your odds of getting it
are together
or less.
Lenny got the vaccine.
It's all about probability theory. The whole thing's about probability theory.
Okay.
If you can get it, but the odds are far greater that you will not. It's all about probabilities. That's
the odds are far greater that you will not.
It's like this. No, if you encounter, he's like you're saying, like, say you have a roll of a die, right? 6-sided die. If you don't have the shot, if you encounter active virus, there's probably about a 3 in 6 chance that you get sick at some level. You may be asymptomatic, but it's at some level, right? If you get the shot, it's like there's no dice because the odds are like a fraction of 1.
So
it's like
you don't
it would be like rolling 3 ones on 3 dice.
But you don't even, so that even to me it's like
that's the best thing about the virus is that whether you know you have it or not, it's still fighting the thing.
Because Lenny and I have a very significant age difference. Okay, and Lenny is much older than me, and he took the first shot and he will get the second shot, and I did not try to talk him out of it, and I did not act like it's crazy.
Well, are you worried about
higher risk than you are?
Are you worried about getting coronavirus from him because he's getting the shots?
I'm not worried about giving coronavirus to him.
No, getting it from him because he's getting the shots.
Why would he? How could I get it from him?
Because that's the thinking behind passing it on once you get the vaccine is that his body is gonna act like he has coronavirus.
Right now, his body, he's had the first shot like 4 days ago, so he's gone through a couple of different flu-like symptoms, but nothing big. He's been very good. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but there's no possible way that I'm going to get COVID because he got the vaccination. But people would look at me and say,
and that's the thing. Just think of what you said. So if you go get the vaccination, there's no possible way you're going to give anybody COVID. Isn't that reason enough? I haven't given anybody COVID at all because I haven't even gotten it.
You may have it and don't know it, Andy.
If people don't come within,
you don't know that you have. You don't know that you don't have it.
You don't know have it. It's like in the
who have it and are asymptomatic. What makes you positive you don't have it?
Well,
how close are your neighbors? How close are your neighbors?
I never get within 6 feet.
I mean, how close are your living quarters to your neighbors?
I have a condo that's attached to one other.
Attached. Back in 2002, when SARS-CoV-2, right, the original one, it passed around in Hong Kong within an apartment complex where they were all locked down and did not leave their places.
I'm not saying that I haven't had it or that I just don't think I've had it. I haven't had any kind of symptoms like I've had it. And I take precautions. I always wipe my hands. I always stay far away from people anyway. I don't like people that much.
But you're healthy enough. All I'm saying is you're healthy enough. So you could have had it and didn't know it.
Okay.
Let me finish one thing. If you had it and didn't know it, you have antibodies.
Right, and
And they had
shouldn't need the vaccine then.
they have antibody tests.
And
Unfortunately,
I was tested for
we
antibodies.
don't
And
have
I had them.
we don't have the resources
Then why did you get the vaccine if you had
Because
antibodies
that's
already?
a suggestion.
because the
And that-
antibody tests are not readily available.
Hold on a minute. Douglas says that he got tested.
yeah,
and
I told you guys a
antibodies.
while ago that I got tested
Why
positive for
would you-
antibodies in August
Douglas,
because I tested positive for antibodies in August of last year because I was trying to, I do these specialized deliveries. I was trying to deliver
right, totally.
prescription drugs into senior citizens' homes, so they wanted me to get a bigger test, and I was qualified to do it, but it said that I had the antibodies, so it means that either I was really sick, which I was really sick in January, but based on what we're told, that's a little too early. Like right at the end of January was when I was really sick.
If you have antibodies, do you really need to add an mRNA vaccine?
Actually, they said that you should take the thing even if you
Who
had
said?
the CDC and the
For
people
what
that.
reason?
Well, one is that like they said, they don't know. This is a new virus to them. This is a new vaccine to them. They don't like they're making predictions about whether this will be something we take every year or something that you need to get a secondary booster. The worst case scenario is this works as your booster.
If you
That's
had
the
antibodies,
worst case scenario.
if you have antibodies, right?
Well, the question is, did I have them when I got the shot? I had them in August, but I don't know about March.
If they went, we don't know like how long the antibodies last in your body. So if you say the antibodies were gone in March, so I needed to get the vaccine,
I don't know.
Then how long is the vaccine going to last? People are
We don't know.
COVID.
We don't know the answer.
We don't know, but the truth is,
on the responsibility of all these people that have a 99.9% chance of surviving the COVID. Why is it on them to get an unknown?
They don't have to. They can all 50% of the people refuse.
yeah, no. The truth is,
I don't know
a
what
certain
the question.
percentage.
I don't know what the question is.
The number is.
They're not required to get it.
Mitchell,
It's a personal decision. They can decline. I have a guy that goes to
here
my
in New York, we have a passport. We have a vaccine passport in New York, and I'm not joking around.
No,
it's not
and
just
you probably need
that.
I didn't know they had that, but
that's compulsion. That's a form of compulsion.
But no, you would want, if I were dining in a restaurant, I'd want to know whether I'm safe dining in a restaurant, and so it'd be good.
It's more safe if you already had the antibodies. So aren't you safe already? Aren't you safe? Like, who's considered
the thing
safe?
about it, it's like, well, if you what if I'm in a room and they didn't take the thing, and I'm the only person who's vaccinated, and I'm getting bombarded from COVID from 11 different people, and it stays inside. One of the things that you shouldn't do is stay inside buildings. It stays inside buildings. So I'm getting the 11 different people that are in the restaurant now, plus the 40 that were there beforehand.
You shouldn't worry about any of it, right? Because you're vaccinated.
No,
on top
it's like
of antibodies.
It's like there is that minuscule chance that something really bad happens. It's like, but the big thing is,
take a vaccine
until we get to that herd immunity status, that 70 to 85%, we don't know what that number is, and like I said, we might be further along than we thought. It's like we're keeping COVID around, and so you have two choices. You can do what it takes to eradicate COVID. I guess there'd be a third choice, which is to completely isolate yourself until it's over. And there's going to be a certain number of people who can't take this.
You said do what it takes to get rid of COVID.
Right.
So
if you don't get the right now
to do what it takes to get rid of COVID.
Right now, it's like if there's no medical reason why you shouldn't be getting a vaccine, you should get the vaccine.
There's a lot of medical reason because it's very.
No, I mean the medical reason
because it's not been tried out because the people that are trying it are guinea pigs.
If you don't want to take it, don't take it.
The thing about it is that if you're relatively healthy,
I'm not. Look,
you can do your part for the country.
You just don't take it. You have that right.
Absolutely.
You don't have to take it.
You don't have to con me into that. I will not take it.
There is no issue. You don't have to take it.
There is no legal issue, but there is a moral issue.
Look, there's an absolute moral issue, which is
like some people want people to continue getting sick and for us to be locked down for as long as humanly possible. And some people will do what it takes to slow this thing down.
So you're saying that if everybody did their part and got vaccinated, even though it's still going to be spread and it's still going to be
if everyone did their part, it would be over in about 3 or 4 months, and that's where it's going to take.
You believe that it's a cyclical
It mutates. We know it's going to mutate.
It's
already mutated.
And the vaccines, we don't know if it works for those new mutations.
That's one of the reasons why I got the
know
J&J vaccine, because it was tested in South Africa where the new mutations were.
So you think that, well, this is the problem, and I'm glad that I get to talk to you guys about it, because, you know, I really feel that it's very, very important that we sit down and we have a discussion about the questions that we have without attacking other people. And I am interested in, Douglas, what you have to say, because I knew that you would.
No, this thing has like 3-4 levels. The first level is yourself. You need to protect yourself. Okay. And the truth is, at some level, I agree that an individual should have the right to say, I don't want to do that. If you really don't want to wear a seatbelt and you get in a car accident and your head goes through the windshield, that was your right, and I have the right to laugh at you. You know what I mean? I have to not be but at the same time, that's your right. But the next thing is who you could get sick.
Getting the vaccine, get them sick if I have.
Yeah, but it's literally like 8 times less of a chance. It's a huge difference.
But if you're vaccinated, you have 8 times less of a chance of getting really sick. So,
and it's true. If Andrea, if you're the only person in America who doesn't get vaccinated, I'm fine with that. But the problem is, there are some people that have medical reasons why they can't do this. When you go to get your shot, they ask you these sets of questions, and based on that question is how long you have to wait around.
Are you allergic for one?
Yeah. One is, are you allergic to this? Have you ever had a reaction to something like that?
If you're allergic, that's a risk.
Yeah, and so those guys, the reason why, if you're healthy, you should get it, is so you let those guys.
Some people don't know they're allergic.
How are you going to know?
No, some people don't.
Well, the big thing is that
they make
vaccines the same way. So one of the questions,
type of vaccine.
No, I'm just saying that the things that'll make you allergic. Yeah, all right. There's this one thing about this. This is different. But the question that is asked is, have you ever had an allergic reaction to a vaccine? And the truth is that if you answer yes to that, there's a chance you're going to get an allergic reaction to this one. If you answer no to that, and you've had 11 vaccines in your life and never had an allergic reaction, odds are pretty good you're not going to have it at this one.
It doesn't make sense to think about that in that way, that if you've had allergic reactions to other vaccines that you wouldn't or that you would for this, because this vaccine is very different from any vaccine that we've ever used.
I'd rather have a manufactured virus than a live virus. That's just myth.
But the only types that you have a choice of getting right now are either mRNA.
That's a manufactured, right? It is not a live virus. I would much rather take
live virus.
It is not a live virus.
No, it's one or the other. It's mRNA.
Is a manufactured virus. I would rather have a manufactured virus
than a live
virus.
Me too.
Well, that's what mRNA means. That's what it means.
It means messenger RNA. It's the way that it attacks the cell. It goes through the mRNA.
Right.
That
so
it's not M isn't for manufactured.
But it's not a live virus.
Right. There's 2 choices: either a live virus or the mRNA.
Are viruses alive?
Manufactured.
Not that they're
viruses technically are not alive until they have a host.
A live vector virus is a live virus. It's part of the. I only know this because my cat had rabies. She had 3 vaccines in one day and died. Like within 7 days, she was dead.
Oh, I guess there is such a thing as a dead virus. So I guess they're changing it up. But the virus does need a host to be alive.
So I have a lot of questions, and I don't want to be that guy.
That's what I was saying.
Douglas,
I'm going to go through it. Like, so you have the first thing.
How does the virus survive on your sink then if it needs a live host? The sink isn't live.
Oh no, because it's like
very rarely.
It's just a thing. It's not doing anything.
It's very rarely transmitted on objects, solid objects. It's almost impossible to get it on an object.
Yeah, you pretty much have to be right after the next person, or there has to be something like he coughed on it.
You have to be definitely within 6 feet of somebody, or you have to be in the way of a sneeze or something like that. And honestly, masks, I don't disbelieve it. I wear them when I go out, but I heard Oregon talking about the fact that they're saying that they should just leave a mask mandate in forever.
I think that whenever there's a bad cold or flu thing, it's something that we should consider. Maybe not it being a government mandate, but if there's a bad cold and flu season and I'm going into Publix with 185 people, I'm probably going to wear a mask in 2023.
Absolutely. Okay, that's fine for you.
You know what I mean?
But when you look at other people and you say to yourself, like, they're not
But right
doing their
now,
part
there's a
because
difference. Is
they're
that we have a national emergency. You know, we have one. It's as bad as anything we've seen. There have been some things that are comparable, and it's like right now there are things that we can do, and you know that's what we're supposed to do. You know, like if they send you a letter saying you got to go to jury duty, you know, you might try to get out of it, but
no, I go.
but then you go because it's duty. It's like, and what they're asking is very, very minuscule, you know, and it's like, and that's where you get to, because that's what you get to. It's like first it's you, then it's people around you, then it's that you're doing it for, then after that it's the people that maybe you don't know that
So
that you
think
encounter.
that I'm putting
But
Lenny's
the
life,
biggest thing,
am I putting Lenny's life in more danger by not getting vaccinated than I would if I did get vaccinated?
yes, you are, but
How?
because your chance of getting sick is greater. Let's say it's greater by 1 out of 100, right? Then if you were to pass it to him, his chance of sloughing it off is exactly the same whether you got the vaccine or not. But that 1 chance in 100, as little as that is, means that the odds of him getting sick are greater. And the truth is that number is more like 18 or 19. It's not one.
Does that make sense, though, that if I give it to him vaccinated, he's got a better chance of living than if I give it to him non-vaccinated?
No, once you've given it to him, it's exactly the same.
So then how do I?
But there's a chance you never give it to him, which has been reduced. That's what's been reduced.
Okay, well, so it's been reduced. So giving it to
there's
him,
a better chance.
But once he gets it, he's got the same exact response, whether it's vaccinated or not, or whether I'm vaccinated or not vaccinated.
Right.
He's going to have the same response because he's vaccinated.
But the question is do you want it to be like a 20 chance out of 100 or a 1 chance out of 100? That's what the vaccination does.
I feel like if it's only 1 chance out of 100 that you're going to survive if you have the vaccine, then what's the point of getting it?
It's not 1 chance out of 100 for me. It's not 1 chance out of 100 for Lenny.
What is it when you're vaccinated? Like he's definitely going to get his second shot. Okay. And like I said, I haven't tried to talk him out of it.
With the first vaccination, they, like they said, they never did true testing on it, but they say that he's got about 50% or better. You know, they're estimating based on what they know about people who've gotten. There have been people who've gotten.
Let's just say that Lenny gets his second shot, and then somehow I get COVID and I transmit it to him.
He's not going to suffer.
Yeah, he's probably.
That's the answer.
Then why is it so important for me to get vaccinated if he's already vaccinated?
Well, because the odds of you giving it to him are much less if you get vaccinated.
When you're just talking the two of you, I would agree with you. I would agree. But there's other people.
Like who?
Well, we invited a guy to go to dinner with us after church.
Yeah.
And we all sat at a table, the three of us, in a tight, closed space.
Okay.
And he hasn't been vaccinated and says he's not going to get the vaccine.
Okay, and you have every right to choose.
My wife was upset. She said, he has the right to do that, but I wish I had known that.
Absolutely.
I would not have sat across the table from him for an hour and a half.
So she has to decide if she wants to have dinner with this man. I agree I'm fine with that. She was upset because nobody told her. So, like, what if I tell her?
It didn't occur to me to ask. I'm not going to ask people that I'm inviting to go to dinner with me, have you had the vaccine?
When are you going to get to go to dinner with people, though? Like,
I've gone to dinner with some people.
Because you live in Florida, you're so lucky. You have no idea how lucky you are.
I've been vaccinated, and they've been vaccinated, and that's what's been allowed. I waited the 14 days.
But would you query them, Doug, before you go to dinner with them?
Huh? Well, I mean, the truth is, the people I'm dying to go to dinner with are the people that I really missed over the last 14 months.
Right.
And so I know them real well. I know them enough to answer that question. I know the answer to that question that you never got to ask that other person.
This? Would you go to dinner with one of these people that you love very much that had not been vaccinated?
I would, yes.
I don't have anybody in my circle that
doesn't really believe she's immune from getting infected.
So then that's another thing. If you don't get that mental satisfaction of knowing that you can go, so the confidence that you can go somewhere and not get it, no matter who's been vaccinated, I guess I would ask myself, like, then what am I getting out of this if I don't even feel confident enough that it works.
You're getting out of, as Douglas points out, you're getting out of it that you're doing your
That's the last part is that after you and after your family and after the people around you, the next thing is the country. It's like we need to get to 70% or whatever that number is. So all we can do is be that one person. Be it. Unless you have a real reason not to be it.
I don't think COVID's ever going to completely go away.
No, it probably won't completely go away. But if we get to herd immunity, it'll just be not even a bad flu.
It'll be a manageable.
Because the truth is, every flu that you know right now.
It goes away in the summer on its own. Do you believe that or not?
No, last summer proved that not to be true.
No, what happens in the summer is that you spend more time outside, and there is something to be said for a couple things. One is the higher humidity of the summer, because your spittle goes less far. You technically might be able to get away with being 4 feet from somebody. There's that.
What do you explain about the reason why as many people have gotten sick and died or more in the states that have been completely closed down than the states that have been fully open, such as Florida?
Well, Florida's numbers are understated by about 40%.
Climate is one big.
Why do you say that?
Because they've literally fired coroner. During April, May, he told coroners not to report any of these things. So they didn't. They just stopped reporting all deaths for about 3 weeks.
Where did you find that information at?
The Tampa Tribune. Earlier in the year, before that,
the governor of Florida,
we had 11,000 people die in March from pneumonia, and we've never had a quarter where we've had more than 3,900 people die of pneumonia in Florida. So either they were lying about it, or most of those pneumonias were probably COVID because they didn't really know what they were dealing with.
Because the COVID deaths are included with the pneumonia and the flu.
No, they could not possibly. No, they didn't. The first case of COVID happened in Florida in March. The first case. No one had died yet. No one died in Florida until April 22nd.
Okay.
Right. So we're talking about the 10,000 people that died. And well, I'm just saying, like, he was lying about that. Then when one of the people in the state, a couple of people wanted to report the real numbers, he fired them. He literally went to their houses and took their computers in case they had the real information on it. We have what? No, we know physically that it happened. There are multiple witnesses of this. It did happen. Ron's death sentence there's never been a governor of Florida who wants people dead more than Ron DeSantis.
Well, he's not doing a very good job. I mean,
no, he's doing a good job of faking the numbers. He's doing a good job of faking numbers. And the truth is, we're number 6 in deaths. We're number 6 in deaths.
So, like, you can't.
We should be 3. We're number 6. We should be 3. We should be 3 based on the thing. It's the thing.
How do you feel about New York?
No, I told you that. It's like that was the thing. Like there should be a lot of deaths in New York because there's a lot of people. And the big part about it was
all of them were in nursing homes, like 80%.
They weren't all in nursing homes. People died not in nursing homes.
Really?
Yes, people died in hospitals.
That's true, but not very many.
Okay, well, it's 9:30. I've got to go, Andy.
Okay, Mitchell. Okay, goodbye, dude. Thank you.
Good night.
See you next Monday.
I wish we had talked more baseball.
Douglas.
Anyway, if you want to talk a little bit, can I have 10 minutes? I'll come back.
We can. What? You're gonna leave?
I really need to get something to drink because my mouth is so dry, and I'd like to smoke. But I'd like to.
Yeah, me too. I'll have a smoke. But we could talk privately about it.
Yeah, pull it off. We'll talk. I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Okay, bye.